Hurling demonstrates. His right hand grips the top of the hurley, but the wrist is flexible. The left hand is lower down and the grip looser. Power and movement come from the wrists. Swinging to right and to left should be practiced constantly, with the elbows close to the body.
Command in collecting the ball is one of the essentials of a good hurler. If done correctly, it is a very rewarding move and involves no loss of time whatever.
The right hand firm, the left well down and loose, so that the hurley is positioned correctly. The stick is kept lower when the ball is stationary than when it's moving. He bends low over the ball, the boss ready to turn the ball in towards his waiting hand. He takes the ball close to the ground, not up in the air. Note that he turns the ball in towards his hand and shelters it behind his body, with the hurley as a protective shield.
The solo run should be made only with a score in mind. As the rule allows the catching of the ball twice, it is vital not to waste one catch when collecting it. Both catches should be reserved for such purposes as passing an opponent, accelerating and steadying for the strike.
This is the wrong way. The ball hops behind him because he's holding the hurley too low. Raising the angle of the hurley avoids this and makes the ball rise in front of him. He comes in fast, the hurley at a high angle. The left hand is loose, the fingers underneath, the thumb on top, and he lifts the ball easily. This is the wrong way when the ball is moving. Again, the hurley is too low. Because the ball has impetus, it must be checked by holding the hurley at a high angle. He meets the ball at full speed. Note that the boss is facing outwards, so that he can continue a solo run without first catching the ball. The left hand is very loose, almost halfway down the hurley, the top of the hurley held close to the body. He gives the ball the smallest possible hop. Note how he turns the boss towards his hand in preparation for passing the ball.
When checking a ground ball, it is usual to keep both hands on the hurley. This is unnecessary as the right hand only is needed. The left hand should be kept for another purpose, as will be shown later.
The hurley is held firmly one-handed in the path of the ball. He takes it as low as possible and shields it with his body, the boss turned inwards. The hurley held out towards the ball, he takes it cleanly on the boss, eyes fixed on the ball, the left hand ready to catch it when it rises. He has a firm grip on the hurley. As the ball hits the boss, the force behind it and the angle of the hurley lift it up. As he moves on, he takes the ball into the shelter of his body.
If the ball should hop falsely and miss the hurley, the left hand, acting as a second barrier, can still catch the ball in flight.
This shows how important the left hand is, in case the ball hops over the hurley. The same approach, the same grip on the hurley, the left hand ready. When he fails to block the ball with the hurley, the left hand is there to take it safely.
Many players check an air ball but never think in terms of stopping and catching it in one movement. This action should be practiced as it gives the player the advantage of getting the ball in the hand and allows him better control of the play.
It's the firmness of the hurley and not a blow from it that breaks the force of the ball and makes it fall dead. He checks it as high as possible, the strength coming from the wrists. The hands are far apart, tightly gripping the hurley. The ball hits the center of the boss, which is turned inwards, and the ball drops into his hand. He leaves the ground to meet the ball, his eyes fixed on it. He stretches up as far as possible, the hurley tilted backwards so that the ball will drop in front of him.
Since this is a placed ball, and the player is free to make the best possible use of it, he should approach it with complete confidence, abandoning all fears of mishitting.
The aim here is to lift a dead ball into the air. He slices sideways into the ground, catching the bottom of the ball with the heel of the hurley. He puts so much force into the shot that he takes a divot behind the ball. He lifts the hurley up and back until the boss is over his head and parallel to the ground. A chopping stroke with full force sends the ball flying through the air. He approaches the ball sideways, his feet well away from it. When he strikes, his weight is on his left foot and the boss has turned completely. The full stroke in slow motion. The left foot firm, toes pointing towards the ball. The chopping stroke from over his head brings the heel of the hurley down towards the back of the ball. The heel, the outer curve of the boss, is used, and the boss turns inwards as the stroke is completed.
To do this correctly, the player must run as close as possible to the ball, and the sweep of the hurley should be near the body. In this way, there is less chance of the ball escaping.
The aim here is to hit the ball as close to the body as possible. To prevent the ball going past, he leaves no gap between the hurley and his body. In along the path of the ball, eyes fixed on it, the hands close together, the elbows tucked in. He comes in right over the ball so that the point of contact is as close as possible to the body. The hurley is parallel to him, the elbows close to the body. The power comes from the wrists alone in a sweeping movement. The wrong way. The stroke is too wide and too far out from the body. The feet splayed too far apart, the elbows flapping. The right way. The hurley is straight down beside him and he strikes very near the toes, so there's no room between the hurley and his body for the ball to escape.
This is chiefly a defensive stroke, which does not require much energy and is easily mastered. The player should use his feet to get into position and hit the ball upwards for length.
The aim is to hit the ball at the highest point possible with the center of the boss, returning it to where it came from. He brings the hurley as far back as possible behind him. He rises to the ball and is dead center in the flat of the boss, high above his head. The stroke continues downwards and the ball returns to where it came from. To put all his force behind the ball, he comes onto its path and hits as high as possible. By changing his grip, he can hit the ball precisely with the flat of the boss. He changes his grip while raising the hurley, and he turns it so that the ball meets the flat of the boss.
A great deal of concentration is needed for this movement, which is especially suited to forward play. The back is unable to tackle closely since the forward runs onto the ball at top speed.
He approaches at full speed along the path of the ball. He strikes near his toes, hands together on the top of the hurley, the elbows tucked in. When he strikes, he follows through so forcefully that he turns around completely. To put full power into the shot, he raises the hurley over his head, his weight on the left foot. He shifts his weight to the right as he strikes close to his toes. With such force in the stroke, he turns around completely in the follow-through.
The ball should always be connected with as high as possible. This shot is one of the essentials of good hurling and should be given special attention by centre fieldmen and forwards.
Out along the path of the ball, eyes fixed on it, the hurley firmly gripped in one hand. The left hand doesn't grip it until he rises to meet the ball. He strikes as high as possible, with the power and precision coming from the wrists. The hurley is held on the path of the ball, but not yet poised to strike. When the ball is dropping over him, he rises to meet it, the hurley back, ready to add to the flight of the ball. He strikes as high as possible, hands close together on the top of the hurley. It's the wrists that add speed and direction to the flight of the ball.
This is a relaxed stroke with a special stress on follow-through. For direction, I always find it most helpful to incline the ball slightly to the left, thus eliminating any possibility of slice.
This is a controlled stroke that sends the ball over the bar at the right height. The movement here is mostly from the shoulders, the point of contact well out from the body. To send the ball directly over the bar, he veers to the left during the movement. He lifts the ball in front of him. He doesn't raise the hurley over his head because he needs a controlled movement without using full force. He strikes the ball slightly ahead of him at knee level in an upward stroke. He brings the hurley forward and up under the ball, hitting it with the centre of the boss. Note that he turns the hurley to the left when he hits the ball, which then flies directly towards the goal. The body and hurley keep moving leftwards. He turns with the weight of his left leg, his right following the movement. These shots were taken in a crosswind, but in every case, the ball travels straight towards the goal.
Finally, here is what I consider the most important shot in the game. Everything depends on lifting the ball correctly. For the stroke to be executed properly, the ball must be driven upwards to the roof of the net.
This is a different method of lifting the ball. He sweeps it out in front of him, bringing it closer to the goal, and drives it upwards towards the heads of the defenders. Note how far ahead he lifts the ball before hitting it, very near the ground and with full force. As in the sideline cut, he puts all his strength into the stroke. He runs in at speed, bending low, and lifts the ball carefully. A bad lift would ruin the movement. He hops on one leg to get into it. He lifts the hurley above his head, eyes fixed on the ball. He strikes just ahead of him, close to the ground, in an upward stroke. His body and the hurley follow through with full force.